Hey folks, I'm working on a tabletop simulator version of Exodus Proxima Centauri, a game from NSKN Games, I believe. And just thought I'd record a video of some of the stuff you have to do to create a game in Tabletop Simulator. Specifically, if you're trying to copy a game in Tabletop Simulator. So I just thought I was running into problems, and I thought it might be cool to see the types of things that I'm doing here. So the first issue that I was having recently is that I actually scanned in all of the pictures of all of the ships and all of the tokens and stuff, and then I started thinking about it, and I don't think I need an individual image for each ship. In fact, I think it's better if I don't have an individual image of each ship. It's better that if I have the front and back of each ship on one page, similar in fact to this here, but actually having front and back side by side instead of all of the backs and all of the fronts. And that's because of the way that you have to texture map the models. So just to show you where I'm at right now, this is where I'm at right now. So I've done quite a bit of work. I've already brought in quite a few of the tiles here. I have stacks of how many I need. And what I'm working on right now is the other ships for the tiles here for each person. And to do that, I'm going to use GIMP, which is free software. And I've had a love-hate relationship with GIMP over the years. Sometimes I start to work with it and it would cause me problems, and then other times I'd be flowing pretty nicely watching tutorials online. And I just downloaded the newest version of GIMP here, and it's actually quite nice. So I don't know, some of you might want to see how this works. So I'm going to create a new workspace here, and I'm going to do it in pixels, and I'm actually using Blender to do the texture mapping. So I'm going to do a 1024 by 1024 grid. I'm not sure why it's coming out blue. I'd actually rather it to be white. So I'm going to fill it with white here. I just used the fill tool right here, and I made sure that white was selected. So I've already opened up a few images of the next ship, which is the fighter. Just to show you how you do that, I'm going to open up the next two. So that's the red fighter, front and back. So I just select the two images, drag them into the GIMP window, and they'll show up in separate layers. So I want to scale those layers down. So I'm going to click on the scale button right here. And if you click on that button and hold, it shows you a bunch of the different transform options. So we're going to choose scale. Make sure it's scale, click on that, and I've already calculated the heights for all of these at 335 for 3 of them to fit in a 1024 setting. And then I'm going to move that into position for now. Click on the other layer, scale it as well, 335. And then move it into position. And I want to make sure I know which one's the front and the back. So this one is the front. So I'll move that one up here, and this one is the back, and I'll move that one down here. So now I've got 4 colors on that one image instead of having a separate color for each ship, which is what I had before, which would have worked as well, but this is going to work a lot faster. So what I'm going to do now, and I don't know a better way of doing this, is I'm going to merge all of these layers together. If I click on one and say merge down for each one, and now I have one image. So I'm going to export that image to the folder where I have all that stuff. I have a UV layout folder in my ships folder, and we're going to call this So I use this kind of notation here to remind me what it was. So these are fighters, and they're going to be blue purple, green, red. So it's the exact same layout. So I'm just going to change the word fighter, word cruiser here to fighter. And now I have that UV map exported. All right. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go to Blender. And I'm just going to show you that this is the model. These are the models of the ships that I've already made. And what you have to do is you have to create the model first. So I'll show you what I did to create the model. Just let me move that out of the way. So the first thing you do with Blender is you make sure you're in the right tab. So we're in the modeling tab right now. I want to bring in a background image. So I'll just go Shift A and go to Image and Reference Image. And the reference image I want to use is of the fighter ship that I'm about to show you how to do all the work on. So I'm going to go to my ships, bring up a fighter. So there's the model. And then what I would do is I would do Shift A again, and I would bring in a mesh. So the one I usually use is plane, but I don't want to work with the entire plane. I just want to use one vertex and extrude that vertex all the way around the shape. So if I tab into edit mode and select by left clicking with shift all of these vertices and delete them. So to delete them, it's X and you just go delete vertices. I have this one vertex left. With G, I can grab that vertex and put it at any corner of the background image I want. I can, oops, sorry about that. I can get it as close to the corner as I want to, and I can zoom in. And now panning is different in GIMP and in Blender, which is messing me up. Shift middle mouse button will pan in Blender, and just the middle mouse button will pan in GIMP. So I always have to flip my brain around for that. Let me turn on the screencast keys here. Okay, so if I click on that vertex and click on E to extrude, I can now start going around the entire model. Now for these last two, what I did is I shift clicked on the last one, right click and go to merge vertices at last, because it's the last one I clicked on. So now those two vertices will be selected and merged together. Now I want to create a face. In Blender, to create a face to cover all that, I press F, but you might want to make sure, Control Z, might want to make sure to press A to select all. And then we're going to press F. And in order for Tabletop Simulator to work, you actually have to triangulate your meshes. And in Blender, that's Control T with everything selected. So that's going to triangulate my mesh. And now if I tab out of there, I can get rid of my background image. It's selected right now by clicking on it. I can press X to delete it. And you'd want to extrude this. So if I go into front view, you can see from behind that it's not extruded with respect to the one that's back there. So we have to go back and tab into edit mode so that the vertices are selected. I'm going to go to front view, and then if I press E to extrude, it's already going to lock it to the Z axis, so it's only going to go up and down, and then I could extrude it to be the same depth as all of the other ones. Tab out of there, and there is my ship outline. All right, but I've already got my ship outlined, which is right here. So I'm just going to delete this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this one by snapping it. So all I did was left click to select it, right click to go into the menu, snap to selection to cursor. So it brings it smack dab in the middle. And then I'm going to go to shading. And as you can see, I already have an image attached to this because I had done this before the wrong way, but now I'm going to show you the right way to do it, or a better way to do it. So I'm going to actually disconnect this node. And by the way, if you start off with an object that doesn't have a node, you'll have to click on new material. So you'll have to be on material here, and then there'll be a new button, and as soon as you click on new, this will show up like this. Okay, I don't have one right now. Maybe, yeah, so see, this one here doesn't have a material. As soon as I click on new under the materials panel, which is this button right here, then I will get those nodes that I need. Nodes are just these connections between all of these things. So the file that I want is the new file I just generated, which I put in the models of ships and the UV layout, and it's the fighter one, which is this one here. And then you have to connect the color node to the base color node here. Now you can see that I've already got some images showing up, but they're not in the right place. To get them to be in the right place, what you have to do is called UV editing. So we're going to go up to the tabs up here onto the UV editing tab. I'm going to zoom into my object and press 7 to get into top view. And what's going to happen is I'm going to select all these vertices, and you're going to start I'm going to select all these vertices, and you're going to start to see what happens here. Now you can actually see the layout of just the top vertices. Now the problem is, to get that to work, you have to unwrap your model. And to unwrap, you have to create seams. You're unwrapping it as if it was a Christmas gift. You have to actually make seams for like a imaginary scissors to cut around. So I've already done that, and everything in this dark orange here is a seam. So you'll see that I've got the top and the bottom edges of the entire shape marked off as seams, and then there's going to be one along the edge. I'm not sure if I'll be able to find it because I can't remember where I put it. Yeah, there's one along the edge here in the middle that I also cut out as a seam, I'm pretty sure anyway, in order to get that linear edge to unwrap as well. And I'll show you what ends up happening if I select all of the vertices. You can see these are the two sides of my shape, and this is that edge that I was talking about down here. Now, right now, there's no image to show me where things are lining up. So I'm going to open up the exact same image that I just opened up under the models for the ships here, so that it shows up. And because I chose 1024 by 1024, it perfectly fits on the square that was on the screen. So you'll notice that if I select this part of the ship and move it around, see how the image changes over here? So what I want to do is I want to place it where it's supposed to go. So we're going to scale it with S downwards. I'm going to move it up. That's getting pretty close. I might want to do the final touches with moving the vertices myself. And then I'm going to select these ones, and all I'm doing is clicking and drawing a box around the vertices to select them all. I'm going to scale that one down too. And I'm going to zoom in. Scale, by the way, is S on the keyboard. For some reason, the screencast keys don't seem to show up on the UV mode here. So I want to get all these vertices in the right place. So I'm just going to zoom in and make sure they're getting as close to as possible to the corners there that I want them to match. You'll notice as I do this, can you see right over here, if you look right here, as I grab this vertex, see how the image is changing? So it's going to be mimicking what is within the outline of these vertices here. And that's called texture mapping. You're mapping a texture, a two-dimensional texture, to a three-dimensional object. It's a bit tedious, but it's the only way to get it to do it right. The nice thing is, because all of the images are roughly the same size, once I've done this once, I should be able to move them pretty easily to the other images. So I don't like the way it's going through the white aliasing here, so I'm just going to move that in a little bit. And this doesn't matter. I'm not changing the mesh. I'm just changing what the mesh sees as the image. And you can see here how the image now matches that side. Now the problem is if I flip this upside down, that's Control 7 to flip it upside down, that image doesn't match yet. So I need to move these vertices in a better place as well. Okay. So those two are texture mapped to the blue. This one's texture mapped to so the edge is texture mapped just to the white here. And I want to make sure that it's fully in the white, not overlapping the green here. And that one is done. So what I'm going to do is go into object mode by tabbing out of there. And what's nice, so watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to call this Starfighter Shipfighter Blue. Change the name just by clicking over here. Oops, I want that to be a capital B. My caps lock was on. There we go. And I'm going to duplicate it. So just to show you, if I go to modeling, I don't have to do it in modeling, but this way you'll be able to see my button presses. It's Shift D, and now I've got a second one, and I'm going to call that one, what was the next color? Was it green? I can change it in a second. And now I'm going to model that one in the UV to match the green one. Okay, so I'm going to press Tab, and because this one, the first one was unwrapped, this one is also unwrapped already. By pressing Tab, I can get into the edit mode, and then by pressing A to select all, you can see that it's choosing the same ones, right? So I'm just going to grab them all, click and drag to grab them all, move them down. And like I said, because the images are pretty close to being the same, it's already pretty well mapped exactly the way it's supposed to be. Yeah, that's a pretty good fit. So I really don't have to change anything. And there's my, oh, that one's supposed to be, okay, so let's call this one purple. I went down to the purple. Let's call it purple. All right. And then I'm going to tab out of there, and then I'm going to Shift D to duplicate that one. And then I'm going to tab into edit mode. They're already all selected. I'm going to move those down to the green ones. I was doing this with individual images before. This is so much better. It takes so much less time. So the green ones seem to be a little bit different in size. That one seems okay. This one needs to move, so I'm just going to select these vertices and move them over a little bit. Okay, just realized that I selected those vertices with it. Didn't want those. So I'm going to click on one and press L to select all the linked vertices instead. That way I don't have to worry about getting any extras. Move that into place. There's my green ship done. Tab out of there. Let's go Shift D, duplicate that. We're going to call this one the green one. I'm going to call this one the red one. And let's tab into this guy's vertices. Let's move. So I'm going to click on, this one's already selected, so I'm just going to grab it and move it right up to the red one. I'll fine tune that in a bit. Click on one of these, press L, grab it, move it to that one. Zoom in, make sure it's lined up as nicely as possible. Click on this, press L, select all the linked vertices, move it into the right place. That looks pretty good. Okay, so I've got those four done. So the next part is to upload this into the Tabletop Simulator. Now, to do that, I have to export all these. Now, when you export them, you have to export them all centered onto the center of the world. If you don't, when you bring them into Tabletop Simulator, they won't spin properly. So watch what I can do. I can just select all of these. Just click and box select. I'm going to go snap to cursor. So they're all piled in one on top of the other here. They're all selected. You can see them selected by being highlighted here. I'm going to go to File, Export, and I downloaded Wavefront batch, which is an OBJ exporter that does multiple ones at once. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to go to Models, Ships. And when I click on Export Multiple OBJs, watch what happens when I go to that folder. So right here, you can see the fighter models that have come out. The blue, the green, the purple, the red. So all the models are there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go over to Tabletop Simulator. And here, so this is the stuff that I've got done already. I'm going to import each one of those models. So how to do that is you go to Object, Components, and under Components, you select Custom and Model. Now right now it's just a sphere, which I'm going to drop right there. And if I keep dropping, it's just going to clone all of those spheres. I don't want to do that. I just want one model right now. I'm going to press Escape, and that brings up the Material and Model Customization menu. So the first thing I'm going to do, because I always forget, is I'm going to change the material to cardboard. Now I'm going to import one of those models. Let's bring in Ship Fighter Blue. Okay. So we upload that to the cloud. There's 1 GB of memory in the cloud for all of our images. Now here I have to bring in the texture map picture. So under UV layout, we're going to go find the fighter one, which is this one right here. We're going to upload that to the cloud. And when we're ready to go, we just press on import and give it a few seconds to load. And there is my ship. Now it's too big, right? But it is the right one. So I'm bringing it over to the blue here. I'm going to scale it down, right click on it, go to scale. I can hold that until it gets down to about the right size. Okay, scale. I think that's a little bit too small. Let's see. Yeah, that's about the right size. I can always fix it later if I have to. Now, actually, there's one way to check. The triangular pieces should be the same size. The cutouts, I should say. They look pretty close. Okay, so we're going to say that that's right. Now watch this. If I right click and go clone, drop that down by clicking, okay, and I don't want to clone it again. I'm going to right click on this, press escape to exit the cloning procedure, right click on it, go to custom, and now I don't have to change the diffuse image because it's all the same diffuse image. I just have to change the model. So if I go to, these were the fighters. If I go, I've already brought the blue one in. Let's bring in the green one. Upload to cloud, upload, import. I don't want to update it because it would change the one it's linked to. So I'm going to click on cancel. There's my green ship. I'm going to clone that one. Escape, right click, custom, find the mesh for my red fighter or purple fighter. Upload it to the cloud. Click on import when it's ready. Do not link it. Right click, clone, click down, escape, right click, custom, change the model to the red fighter. Upload it to the cloud, import, cancel, and there are my 4 ships that I just finished. I still have 2 more to go, but that's basically how you model quickly and efficiently and texture map quickly and efficiently to get the models into Tabletop Simulator.